All right, 40 days through the Bible, day 13. This was the book of 1 Kings. And the thing that I want to talk about is from chapter 18. This is where Elijah calls all the prophets of Baal to Mount Carmel to test whether Baal is the Lord or the God of Israel is the Lord. All of Israel has turned. They're following King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. They've all turned to follow these false gods. And Elijah's come in and going like, hey, we're gonna have us a showdown, all right? And so they go to the mountain, and Elijah says, hey, set up an altar. You guys set up an altar, 450 of you, set up an altar over here. I'm going to set up an altar over here. And then he says, you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire, he is God. And then all the prophets of Baal go, they do all their stuff, they do everything that they can, they call out, they scream, they yell, they cut themselves, they do everything that they possibly can to get Baal to answer and to bring down fire on this offering. And absolutely nothing happens. And just as a side note with that, like one of my favorite things is that Elijah is like over here goading them on and like trash talking them. And he's like, maybe he's asleep, maybe he's on vacation, you should yell louder, you know? But they go and they go and they go and absolutely nothing happens. And then Elijah goes and he says, okay, bring 3 buckets of water, pour 3 buckets of water all over everything. So not only is it not on fire, it's also now soaking wet. And then it says, at the time of the sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, the Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God. And what stuck out to me from this was this idea of, if you have been asking for a miracle, but you haven't seen the miracle yet, right? One of the reasons for that can be that you're not praying to the actual correct God, right? The prophets of Baal were praying to a God who was never going to answer, right? No matter what they did, no answer was going to come. For almost all of us as believers, we are praying to the correct God, right? But if you step back from that and you're like, okay, but I still haven't seen the answer, right? The God who answers by fire, he is God. I haven't seen the fire come down. Why is that yet? And the thing that stuck out to me this morning is that if the prophets of Baal, after calling on Baal, if they had switched and then they had just called on the name of the Lord, what would have happened? Would he have sent down fire, right? We know that he was still the real God. We know that he's the actual God. We know that he's the one that can and should and will send down fire. But if those guys had prayed to him and asked him to send down fire on their offering, would it have happened? I would speculate that the answer is no. And the reason for that, I think, is seen in the way that Elijah prays for God to bring down fire. He says, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me so that these people will know that you are God and that you are turning their hearts back again. And so just one of the things to use as a framework to look at the situation. If you're praying and you're waiting for God to send down fire to prove that he is the God and you haven't seen that yet, one of the reasons for that is because God sends down fire in response to a heart motivation that wants other people to know him, right? Elijah's motivation was that the people will see that you are God, right? And so the motivation has to be for the glory of God, not for the glory of ourselves, not to save myself, not to whatever, right? He's not like, oh, God, like if you fail me, like I'm going to die over here, you know? He's like, send down fire so that these people will know that you are God. But then beyond that, he says, let it be known today that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. And so he's asking from a place of obedience. Right? What brought him to the mountain is not his own ideas, it's not his own wisdom, it's not whatever. It's following in obedience to the Lord's steps. And God has led him to this place. And then now that he's at this place, his heart motivation is the glory of God and the revelation of God to the other people around him and to the people in his world. And that is the recipe for seeing the fire of God fall down. Right? Because again, if you think about it and you're like, oh, would God have responded to the prophets of Baal? I don't think so. right? Because their motivation was not for the company to know, for the people to know that he was the real God and Baal was not, and because they did not come there out of obedience to the Lord in the first place. The Lord responds to obedience, and the Lord responds to a humble heart that desires to make his name great, not to make our name great, right? That desires to bring people into relationship with him and not to just save ourselves or make ourselves look good or anything like that. So if you know that the God who answers by fire, he is God, but you haven't seen the fire yet, you haven't seen God answer yet, one of the ways to look at things and to just check your heart in that is, what is my heart motivation? Is it for other people to know and to be revealed that the Lord is God, right? And am I in this as a result of obedience to what the Lord has asked me to do? So that's all I got for this morning. See you in the next one.